Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about you as a dungeon master, and you as a dungeon master provisioning spike perfect play. All right. Now, what is this? What is spike perfect? So there's a volleyball. Let's think about volleyball. All right. When you get good at volleyball, somebody can set up a spike. There's a person who does the setup. They shoot the ball high in the air, and then someone who is very good at spiking, right? A player who can put some, feet off the ground, right? Really, jump 2, 3, 4 feet in the air, right? And then slam that ball onto the other side of the court in a way that cannot be returned. It's a perfect spike, perfect setup, right? So what I want to talk about today is, are you as a dungeon master ready to provision spike perfect play for your rockstar player with their rockstar role? All right. Okay. So let's talk about this. So to understand this, we need to talk about movies. There are thousands of roles, right? So we're just even talking about speaking roles right now. There's roles on streamers. There's roles on movies. I'm talking a blockbuster, right? And I'm talking a perfect film with a person who was born to play a specific role. I'll give you 3 examples of this. Okay, Emma Stone in Cruella. She was born to play that role. She will never do a better role in her lifetime. I think she was perfectly suited for that role. Disney queued that thing up. That's a really unique, special film. Emma Stone's done, right? She'll have other roles in her life, right? But there'll never be a role that she was born to play like that. It was a perfect, eclipse of her talent and Disney's provisioning, right? The money, the art, everything was there for her to play. The perfect actress to play that perfect role for her at that exact moment in time, right? Alexander Skarsgård just did Northman. He will never have a better role. He was born to play that role, right? Alexander Skarsgård was born to play this Viking, right? He did a great job with it, and he's finished. He's never going to have a better role than that. I'm convinced of this, right? He was born to play the Northman, right? Harrison Ford, he was born to be Han Solo, and Han Solo is etched into the minds and hearts of billions of people, right? Like a billion plus people have seen Star Wars, maybe probably 2 billion, right, on the planet, and or seen Han Solo in one thing or another, right? Literally billions of people, right? He was born to play that role. He has never surpassed it in anything he's ever done. It's his iconic role, and we saw him from smuggler to father killed by his own son, right? And he was born to play that role, and it perfectly aligned. And Disney and Fox and 20th Century Fox perfectly provisioned that role for him. Okay, so here's what we're talking about today. You are a dungeon master. You have a responsibility, a deep responsibility. Okay, first of all, you need to take your eyes off of your own story, right? Can you hold on to your story loose enough to allow the players to actually get their story in, to allow the dice to get its story in, right? You're only 1/3 of the story creator, and you need to remember that. Okay. So next, are you leaving room for your players to tell stories, right? Here's the next question. Okay. So are you leaving room for them to tell stories, right? Here's the next one. So we've talked about can you identify your rockstar story? Your rockstar, can you identify your rockstar player? All right, secret DM talk now, okay? You know what I'm talking about, right? You got 4 people at the table. 2 of them are good role players. One of them, you're like, come on, man, step up, get it done. Come on, start taking notes. Why was the name the last thing on your character sheet, right? Like, you always got a straggler, right? But you might have a rock star. You might have an exceptionally good player sitting at your table that is really good at playing a role, putting themselves in the role, understanding pathos and narrative, and ready to tell an epic tale that has never been told through their player character. This is your ingenue. This is the player you need to provision, right? They have incredible talent. They have incredible potential. Can you set the stage for that to emerge, right? So can you even recognize your rock star, right? And I'm talking over decades of DMing. Can you recognize when you have someone of incredible talent? Or are you just like, oh, I just want to create a fun space for people to blah, blah, blah and cut goblins in half, right? Or are you like, hey, I think one of these players may be a TTPR, a Dungeons and Dragons Shakespeare, right? And I want their story to emerge, and I'm going to provision that, right? And you know, you don't ever want to tell a player that you never should tell any player you're my favorite player, but we all got favorite players, right? And the question is, can you cut through who's your favorite and just recognize who's the best who's ever going to sit at your table? Can you recognize that moment when you have a rock star at your table who has a huge story to tell inside of them, right? And can you provision them and set the table for this incredible role to emerge, right? And then, so one, can you identify your rock star, and can you identify when they are ready, when they have hit that character that they were born to play? Can you recognize the person? Can you recognize the player character? Can you recognize the time, so that Emma Stone's Cruella, so that Alex Skarsgård's Northman, so that Harrison Ford's Han Solo can live in the space you've built, right? And the Spike Perfect role emerges and everything manifests. Can you do it, right? And the answer's in you. First, you have to acknowledge that you are responsible to build this space. I cannot tell you how many DMs today have no idea of what duty is on their shoulders, what responsibility is on their shoulders. They think that setting up a situation where people can cut goblins in half for 4 hours is enough. It's not. It's not. If you listen to this channel, you know it's not. Are you ready? Can you identify your rock star? Can you see when they're in the perfect player character? Can you see when the perfect eclipse of talent and dungeon master provisioning is happening, right? Can you make it happen and be there for them to pull that art out of them, right? I'd love to know. The first thing you need to do is acknowledge it. Put your story back. Watch for your rockstar player. Watch for the right player character. Watch for the moment and be ready to provision, right? Well, that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.